camera around.
Yeah.
Wait a sec, I'll turn the stopwatch on.
Give it here.
It won't go for very long. You do the business.
Ah. What are you recording me for?
Because he can.
Oh, what app are you in?
Okay.
Oh, you're doing this.
First of all, you folks here know a lot more about electronics than I do, but I spent a lot of time doing this, and over time you're bound to learn something. Maybe not much. What I use, when I get it out, should have been doing this before. We're a happening thing in there. I buy this stuff from Western Australia. It is as dear as poison, but it is excellent. It's copper braid, or tinned copper braid.
Don't give it, you won't get it back.
And all you do is you cut off your bit as long as you need it. I was actually going to replace a bit here today, but I haven't got all my bits with me. And you slide one of those on, hit it with a hammer, flatten him right out, and just drill a hole through it. Bob's your uncle. And then you just bond every damn thing to everything else that you can possibly do. You'll be amazed at the amount of noise reduction there is. I've got a Ford F-150. It's got a 351 Cleveland in it, so it's old style spark gap transmitters. When I bought it and first installed a radio in it, with the motor turned off, no noise. Start the motor and at idle was S7. At 1500 revs it was S9. When you got mobile, it was off the clock. Seriously, it was pin the needle hard over with my TS480. All I did, nothing else, but put this stuff on everything, which included, I've got dual exhaust on it. I put on the exhaust in two places on both sides. I bonded the tray to the chassis. I bonded the body, like the cab, to the chassis. I bonded the mud guards to the bonnet to the rest of the body. In other words, everything to everything else. I then went from a situation where I had no noise. I started the motor up, I had no noise. I drove at 120 kilometres an hour, I had no noise. Literally no noise, none whatsoever. And all I did was bonding. If people say to you, you don't really need to do that, well, for me, that was the biggest proof in the pudding ever. This is a Codan 9350 antenna. Some people use the, there's another popular brand here and I can't think of the Barrett. They're basically more or less the same thing. All this has got in here is like a coil and a swipe that goes up and down. I have a Kenwood TS480 in there. I'll put my hand up and say I didn't build the interface for it. I've got a mate of mine in South Australia did it because I know my limitations. And all I do on the radio is I plug it in, I press the tune button on the radio, it goes zot, 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 tells me when it's tuned, stop tuning, I'm right to go. Gives me the entire 80 metre band right through to the top of 10 metres. And it takes about 10 seconds maximum to change the frequency on it. If you have a look around here, what I was talking about, and bear in mind this truck's done around about 130,000 kilometres since I put that on there, and before I do show you this, you'll note this here, which is the one that comes with the antenna. That is just been done by wind. Nothing else. The other thing I recommend is if people built this is a Indian invention, is as simple as this. It's just 2 plates. These are threaded inside and just bolts that go through them, and it flops around like I can't say mixed company, but it does, so it flops sideways and backwards and everything. Does not affect the performance whatsoever. It really doesn't affect the performance. Doesn't affect the SWR either. And it does work very well. You'll notice around here, I was talking about the bonding before. There's from there, that goes from the radiator somewhere or other. I know they've changed the radiator because they bloody put a new radiator in it. So I'll have to put some back on there again. But I'll put this wherever I can find a space where there's anything that's might have different potential. Just put a little bit of that on there. It's a work in progress. I've never got time to do it all. But eventually this will have everything done just like the Ford was, with the exhaust and everything on there, because the difference is just, I couldn't believe it. Very fortunate. I've just the control cable comes in here and I just run it along the chassis. At the time I didn't have the time to install it properly, which I would have put that, you know, the wrap. Yeah, the wrap on it. But I didn't have time, so I just went in there as is. It's just drilled a hole up through the floor, much to the chagrin of the company.
They don't know about it.
They do know about it. I'll show you the rest of the stuff from the other side, but very fortunate with Kenworth, because in here is a buzz bar.
A natural buzz bar for Kenworth.
That's how they come, yeah. And it's you'll see it runs. You might have to hop up individually, but along the bottom of all of these circuit breaker and fuse boxes here, there's a bar that goes across it. Whether I'm going to have enough grunter supplied, if anybody wants to have a look, you'll just see that in a couple of spots I've got heavy leads that go back under the floor, and I just use Anderson plugs on the end so that I can easily disconnect them.
What about the exhaust? Do you bond that as well?
Yes, sir. I haven't done it on this yet because I haven't had time, but it will be bonded.
It's YouTube.
If you have a look,
I'm on video. Oh, cool.
Down underneath, it's got, what do you call that, flexible hose? Yeah. You've got to do both sides of the flexible hose. Otherwise, it's an antenna basically, just radiation. And anything, you'd be surprised. Just a little bit of flex in there. It's just enough. Peter will attest to this, that I get out reasonably well. I claim the reason I do get out well is because of the bonding. The same thing with the Ford and with my my little Prado. I get out extraordinarily well with them simply through bonding. I don't do anything else fancy.
If you can't hear them, you can't work them.
Well, it's not only that, but it also makes the antenna more efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's part of the antenna, but the vehicle's the other half of it. That's the other half of your dipole.
Yeah, exactly.
The advantage is here, I've usually got 2 by 3.7 metres off the ground by 27 metres overall. If you think about what 27 metres is in terms of a wavelength on 80 metres, 40 metres, it's almost a resonant frequency all the way, you know. And
Counterpoint.
yeah, in terms of the counterpoise. And it works very well, but it is extremely directional. If I'm going that way, 3 points better that way.
Really?
3 S points. And I'm serious, a full 3 S points on it. I don't think there's too much more. For those that wish to and are able to, and I know it's a bit difficult for some people, but if you want to hop up in the driver's seat, you'll see